All right. I guess I am live. Um so welcome back to Cards and Comics, my third live stream. I'm don't do very often, but I've been very absent from the for making a lot of content really recently. A lot of things going on, you get busy. School started, the Northeast school starts late, like, into September. So, lots and lots of sports going on for my kids, which is cool. I want to definitely go to the game. So, um, I took a little bit of a week or two there. Um, but I'm thinking about getting back into going to shows again. Um, After the National, really took some time off. Hey, welcome, Something Sports Cards. How are you? Um, And now I'm just getting back into it. I'm thinking about actually setting up at the Saratoga Comic Con again. I usually set up there once or twice a year, and I'm thinking about maybe doing a few shows outside of the state of New York with a few promoters that I know and who like my stuff. So they definitely try to hook me up. Now, so tonight is I mentioned that there's going to be a contest. It's going to be kind of silly. That's how I do things. Um, so hopefully everyone can hear me okay. Um, but yeah, I'm going to try to do something a little different for me. I've never done a contest because, I've just never thought I had, the kind of following that people would be like, hey, contest trying to get, views. So, as we get some folks in, I'll announce it. I also put it in the, I'll add a comment to the live stream after this is over, explain the rules because of the contest. So it's going to be again kind of silly, but it's kind of fitting into my sort of brand, I guess you want to say is hopefully people, if you watch some of my videos, you'll see I do use a lot of music. I play music. I've been in bands, um, and so the contest is really around my logo and so the Cards and Comic logo was designed after a band's logo or the font they use for their band. And so the contest is going to be around um, if you can guess the band that my logo is created as a tribute to or was inspired by. And I'll give clues. I plan on doing live streams once a week now. And so I'll give clues. So the first clue I'm going to give is that, and I'll show the two prizes here in a second. I'm going to be giving away, and they're really good prizes. So if you really want to be involved in this, for people who aren't on, because not a lot of people are on right now, but the two prizes are going to be very good that I'm going to be giving away. I think they're good. I think they're very relevant. At least one of them is. So the contest is going to be again, what band inspired my logo, and the other one is the so the clue is going to be that first clue is going to be that the band plays death metal. So that's the first clue. They are a death metal band. So that's the first clue, and I'll give more clues every week until someone guesses it. Now I'm going to talk about the prizes. So first prize, there's a kind of vintage prize, modern prize. So you can pick which one you want. I think the vintage prize is going to be this right here. It's an 83 tops PSA 9. You can see it there. Michigan 83 tops test pack. So for anyone who doesn't know what these are, in 1983, Tops experimented with plastic wrap packs. So I don't know if you can see it, but instead of going to see how you've got the wrapper folded under, so this was a test pack. They did these only in Michigan, and so that's why it says on the top, Michigan test pack. So the Michigan test packs in '83, a lot of people like them because you can't really search these as much. You can't really reseal these as easy. So a lot of people buy or pay a little bit more for the 83 Tops Michigan wax boxes because they feel like they can't be searched. So you're going to get more of a chance of everything being the way they should be. So that's prize number one. Prize number two is going to be a Topps Chrome PSA 9. See right there. Aaron Judge rookie card. So again, so to be a part of the contest, you have to be a subscriber to the channel, and you have to comment in this video with your guess. So that's that's the rules of the game. If you are a member, or if you're a subscriber to the channel and you comment in this video, your guess, and it's going to be one guess per video. So you can't list every death metal band in the world until you hit it. You get one guess per video. So make your best selection, and then next week, if no one hits it this week, next week I'll give another clue, and we'll keep going until someone wins, and then we'll do another contest for the other prize because I want to give them both away. These are, and I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I have multiples of these, cards, and so, I feel like, I can give one away, and it's gonna people like it, or helps the community, or just creates more buzz around the channel. That's all good for me, and we'll go from there. So, as far as what I want to talk about, there's a lot of things. It's a very interesting time in the hobby. It's very interesting because, the national again always is a high point of the year, and after the national, it's always where you see things kind of going downhill in terms of pricing. People will sell more, prices will go down, eBay will become more. People were dumping stuff on eBay. Hey, Rocco. Yeah, I know a lot of people talk about like they don't like that. The band I'm talking about, or the band I'm really going for, is someone who I really love. When I was getting into music, it's a band that, again, maybe not a lot of people know, but the logo, and if you start really looking around, you'll kind of see where I was going with when I had the designer design my logo. When I talked to the person who designed my logo, I specifically gave them examples from this band around the script, the style I wanted. And I just think it's kind of fun for the lore of the channel. I don't have a lot of channel lore. I've tried to create some of it, with me playing music, playing with my kids, having like them in the video somewhat. I've tried to like create a little bit of how I kind of my personal life into the channel that's outside of just cards. If you go to any of my videos, I talk about going to shows. My family's always there. When I set up at shows, I take my entire family, and that's something that I've always done. Even when I was in Indiana, I always brought my kids with me, and we always sat together because I didn't want it to be just me and my hobby, and I just isolate the family, and it's only I get to enjoy this or get to be part of it. I either wanted to do it with the family, or I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to be like, Dad's going away for a weekend and playing with cards, and you guys can't be involved in that. I wanted the family to experience it, and generally, my family likes going to the card shows, likes going to and helping set up at shows, and they think it's fun, and they get a kick out when someone comes up to the booth and knows or has been someone who's seen my channel or something like that. They think it's funny. My kids are like, oh, people know who you are. It's really weird. Now, not a lot of people know who I am. I mean, it's not a lot, but if anyone says I've seen your channel, they think that's really funny. So going to more shows, that's something I want to do, and I want to experience more stuff. Now, I know that the hobby's gone through some drama, and honestly, you haven't seen me do a lot of reaction videos to that. You haven't seen me even comment on news. SGC price drops, PSA price drops, all this stuff. It's because in some ways, I don't really care, because the drama side of it is a bunch of people, in my opinion, that are new to sports cards, new to the hobby, and who don't know that this kind of drama and this kind of things have been around for so long that it doesn't affect me anymore, because PSA makes a grading mistake. Oh my God, they do that all the time. It's not news. It's not something that I'm going to spend a half an hour talking about on my channel. But for other people, like it's like this drama side of the hobby really is what they're shooting for in their own channels, and so that's just not something I'm ever going to do. I thought about it a little bit, like you'll see videos, my older videos, where I'm doing news or drama stuff sometimes, and it's just not really what I'm into. I'm just more into like talking about cards and this and the hobby and everything. Now, today something happened that was very interesting. Now, I've not been a big fan of the eBay authentication program, and today something happened that was very interesting. So I bought two classic 90s Frank Thomas cards from one dealer, and they're iconic. If you're into the 90s insert stuff, you know who these sets are. And so the first card came in today, and it's and there's a couple of things going on with it, but it's from one of the most, I think, one of the nicest looking sets ever made. It's from Fleer Mystique 1999. It's the Established, and it's Frank Thomas. And you can see in the light there, it has a rainbow refractor like effect. And in fact, by 1999, the refractors from Topps had gotten a little down in quality. They weren't as shiny and they weren't quite as deep a refractor. These cards were much nicer, in my opinion, than even the Topps refractors at the time. And he also had a back refractor on these cards. Okay, I know it's hard to see with a little bit of glare, but the back refractor makes these cards just amazing. And you can see this card is numbered 31 out of 100. Now, two things about this card. First, you'll notice it is graded by Pro. Okay, so for, if I was a hobby newbie, I think people would be like, dude, don't buy Pro cards. Like, you're not supposed to be buying Pro cards. They're a lot of trim cards end up in Pro holders, and they're not, people who grade, cards sometimes are authentic. So I know the dealer, or the individual who sold these cards. I know that they're a legitimate collector and these cards are real. I've looked at the card. The card is not a fake. So this is a real card. So the only question I had is it trimmed? Is this card that's been through PSA and never been, has it been altered, or, is something wrong with it, basically? So, that's something I'm going to have to, try. I'm probably going to have to send this into PSA, because the value of this card could be 2 to 3 times higher if it got into a PSA holder. Because, again, for people who don't know about 90s inserts, this is one of the most popular insert sets from the 90s. It's a sneaky set because it's from Fleer Mystique, which isn't, let's say, one of those sets that people talk about, like Metal or EX or Topps Chrome or Topps Finest, but it's gotten up there in the collector side of the hobby to be tremendously popular. This one insert set, they're numbered at 100, right? And that's the first thing, and they're just really beautiful cards, and so they've really taken off in terms of value. I saw a set of these at the National. I believe the guy wanted $3,500 for this card individually, and I paid much less than that, again, because it's in a Pro holder, right? And that's going to be my thing, is am I going to be able to cross this over, get PSA to grade it straight? Is it going to come back authentic? So that's the risk I took. I did, again, know the dealer, I know the person who sold it to me, so I think I'm making a calculated risk here. All right, so back to eBay, right? So I bought this card, and it went through eBay's authentication program, and I thought that was very odd when that happened, because for one thing, they only accept certain grading companies to go through authentication. So part of me thought, well, this is great. eBay is going to authenticate this, and if PSA says it's fake, then do I now have eBay on the hook for this card? Does that give me some protection? Well, no. What happened was I got this note in my card today, and it says it was miscategorized and it doesn't qualify for the eBay authentication program. So I did not get, but they took the same amount of time as it would take to go through that program. So I had the card held for another 10 days and for no reason. So, you know, way to go, eBay. I mean, I just, it's just such a frustrating thing for me in this service because they don't know what cards need to go through it. And then if cards get sent there that are wrong, they just send you a note saying, oops, are bad. Sorry, it took you 10 days to get, 10 extra days to get your card. But, it's just them's the breaks, for this stupid program. But, I thought maybe if they did say it was, authentic, they gave me some protection, but I do not have any protection on this card other than just, the dealer who I know is a legitimate guy. Now, there's another card coming I don't have yet because it did go through the program. So I guess that took longer to get authenticated. And it is a Crusade. And so a $98 Crusade. So I have the purple Frank Thomas Crusade. This is the green. So there's 3 colors in 98 Crusades. There's purple, green, purple, and red. So once I get the green Frank Thomas, I'll have 2/3 of the actual rainbow. Now, the red Frank Thomas, the number to 25 Frank Thomas, that may never be an option for me to ever find. But I have started to, diversify a little bit into Frank Thomas because, again, this card here in a King Griffey Jr. Could be eventually, maybe not now with pricing going down a little bit, but it's going to be a $10,000 card. It's just, that's the way it's going. And it's just, it's so popular and there's so few of them that, so like for this card to be, $700 or whatever it was versus $10,000, you can see I can buy a lot more cool Frank Thomas cards than I can Griffey at this point with the price differences. So I am focusing on Frank Thomas. Now, this idea of pumping and dumping, like if anyone talks about a player they like or cards they collect, very rarely do I sell the things I collect unless I've got doubles and triples. But I'm not here to pump these cards. They're so rare that it doesn't matter. There's no supply. So, like if you have them, you're probably a collector anyway, and you're not going to sell. But there's no supply out there to pump and dump. You got to have a certain amount of cards available to for that to work, and there are definitely not enough of those cards to do that with. But this diversification that I'm going through, and I am going to have to dwindle my collections down because I collect too many different things. And I have to really get more focused because I can't collect modern rookies and 90s inserts and Frank Thomas cards and Griffey Jr. and packs, unopened packs. And it's like at some point, Marvel cards, it's just like it's getting too much. I've got to start diversifying and making the collection more focused. When I had New York Yank fan on, I really liked his focus of his collection. I really liked how he focused, and then by focusing, he was able to build a collection that, to me, had more power in it because it was, he paid attention to the condition, the grades. He did a lot of great things and how he built his collection. And when for me being so scattered in how I collect, I might run into like a couple amazing cards just by collecting a lot of different things, but by not being focused, I tend to miss things that I probably should have collected because, for example, like if I would have been focused on Griffey Jr. from the time period I got back into after I graduated college and got back into collecting, if I would have bought Griffey's then till now, I would have been much cheaper into the collection, but I would have been able to pick up some of those really rare cards that you can't really afford today. And again, that's because I was just hyper, at that point I was doing more vintage actually, which is good, but it's now like where if I was focused on the things I like today, then it would have been so much easier. That's what we all can say, I wish I was more focused. But now that when I look at my stuff, I'm like, I don't collect basketball, and I have, basketball cards, like Jordan here. And it's like, I don't know why, but there's this thing where like I start collecting Jordan cards out of nowhere, you know, and I don't know why, like it's like, why am I collecting Jordan cards? Why did I buy some Brady cards? Like, I'm never going to go into Brady enough to be a super collector, but I just wanted to have some of his cards, and I don't mean like just a couple of good rookie cards. That makes sense, but I was getting inserts and refractors and things that game use cards, and that just doesn't really fit into my collection. But then it just like again, I could have been buying things that would have furthered the main focus of what I want to do. And so I saw where the Card Boss, I really like his channel. He just posted a video where he talked about losing over $10,000 on some sales of mostly Marvel cards, and I do think that's a great video because it just is so honest. It's like I sold this card, I didn't make money, I lost money, and his whole rationale was, he wants to divest that money into something else and something that he either collects or prefers. And that's how I look about my collection. When I've got Jordan cards, Brady cards here, I probably need to get rid of some of these cards to really focus on the cards I really want, because Griffey cards have stabilized a little bit, but man, and let's say March through August and September, August was kind of the peak, right after National. It was just, they were just on fire. Everything was bringing a lot of money, more money than it ever had. The last big Griffey sale, which I got my, if I can find it, it's floating around here somewhere. That Griffey auto I just picked up, that card, again, I think I have it floating right here. That last Griffey auto I just had on my mail day, the 99 retro auto, again, that card has gone up tremendously in value. And so it's like getting cards like that is so hard. I think maybe I stick it over here. Yeah, here it is. So the retro auto I just, had in my video, this card here, has a pop count of 5. The 90, now this card again doesn't have a stated print run. It doesn't have, whereas the 98 is stated that there's only 100 copies of it. However, there's been 10 of the 98 graded and only 5 of the 99, and this doesn't have a stated print run, but only 9's ever been graded by PSA. That's a very low number, in my opinion, for a card. If there was 1,000 of them, there would definitely be a lot more of those cards available if that number was closer to 500 to 1,000. So I don't feel like that there's more than, I don't, it doesn't feel like those cards are that dissimilar in print runs, if I was going to just put it anyway. So yeah, divesting is, and the Card Boss's, last video he did about it, it's probably going to be some of the things I'm going to be doing. I'm going to probably lose some value, maybe not money, but value, than I could have done if I'd have done this, a year ago. And that's the challenge when prices go way up. You hold on because you don't know where the ceiling is. And then you kind of like go back a year later and realize, man, I could have sold some cards for a lot more money, and it's not just modern cards, not just Marvel cards, I had some Marvel 2017 PMGs and stuff I sold that I didn't make a lot of money on comparatively at the time, but now it looks like I made a lot of money on those cards compared to what they're worth today. Same way as like I'm selling some Marvel cards now that if I'd have sold a year ago or 6 months ago, I'd have sold them for double what I'm going to sell them for now. So in some cases, I lost $2,000 or $3,000 by just holding on and not deciding to sell or let go. And in some cases, I had offers that I turned down, and that's tough. It's just I had some offers of cards that are worth $1,200 now that had people offering me 3,000, and I said no. I think the card's worth more, or I don't know how much it's worth, but some have sold higher than 3,000, so I'm going to say no. Now I'm going to sell it for 1,200 and lose out on the $1,800 I could have made on that card if I had just sold it back then 6 months ago. So I am going to be divesting some things. I'm going to have to just not collect as much, and so I'm probably going to sell my Magic the Gathering collection. I've been up and down on it for a long time. And I used to play in the old days, the 90s. So I have those cards. Plus I added to that collection over some unopened stuff. So I think that's an easy one to divest. Get out the Magic Gathering. I think they're going in the wrong direction, honestly. I think Magic. One of my, favorite channels was, Rudy. I've talked to him a few times. He's a really, really, I think he's, from a content creating perspective and someone who basically owns his, is the OG guy in his own field. He is the Magic the Gathering dude on on YouTube. And he doesn't feel like Wizards is going in the right direction either. So I think it's a little challenging. So I think that's an easy collection to get out of. I'm probably going to get out of my basketball cards and maybe modern football as well. I'm thinking about really cutting back because, I want to, get your guys, anyone here who wants to give opinion, but, I was just reading on Instagram the other day that Mac Jones has over 1,000 101 rookie cards. And there's over 3,000 individual Mac Jones cards, just rookie cards over, well over 3,000. And it's going to be pretty soon when there's going to be over 10,000 different rookie cards for players. I'm a Steeler fan, and I'm like, I want to get Kenny Pickett, but it's like at some point there's going to be 5,000 Kenny Pickett rookie cards to choose from. So I'm not even worried about trying to find one. It's going to be like, I don't know. I don't know which one to buy. There's so many of them. I could just, wait, and in the old days, I remember when Andrew Luck came on and, I was really into Luck. I lived in Indianapolis, and it was just like, I couldn't wait for Topps Chrome to come out. Like I was literally like counting the days. I was talking to my buddy, Andy, like, when are you going to get the product? I'm going to be there. We're going to have a big, I remember like, when Topps Chrome came out in 2012 in Indianapolis, there was a case rip party at Baseball Card Exchange, or the Baseball Card Indy Card Exchange. Sorry, it used to be called Baseball Card Exchange back in the day. The different one, not the one everyone thinks of. He changed the name, but so yeah, I remember having the opening ripping party with Andy and Indy Card Exchange, and just opening box after box looking for Andrew Luck cards. And how hard they were to hit. Not the base cards or refractors. It was the autos. Very, very hard to hit. And but it was just a lot of fun. And we just thought he was going to be the next guy. I just don't have the same passion for that with Panini products. Topps is going to get back in the game. Okay, maybe when Topps Chrome comes back in football, I'll do something. But I just don't like Panini football products. The only football product I ever really got into for Panini was Flawless. And sounds stupid, but I mean, I liked opening Flawless for $1,800 to $2,400 a case or a box, whatever you want to say. Now it's just so expensive. It's just stupid, and I can't afford it. So I'm not going to open that product anymore. But it's just like, football, the two products I used to open a ton of was Topps Chrome, and I'd open at least one or two boxes of Flawless a year, and I can't open Chrome anymore because it doesn't exist. I don't like Prism, and Flawless is priced so high. So to me, it's like I've lost all my anchors into football, and everything else, to me, it's just kind of like I don't have a real passion for. So, getting out of football seems like a good thing for me. Football is an easy sport to try to speculate on because of how they do the rookie cards. Where in baseball, you got to have the prospect, you got to go like 5 years before they ever make the majors, and hope the guy doesn't get hurt or whatever in those 5 years. So it's a long, like, you have to make your bets for 5 years or 3 years or whatever, and hope it works out. So you have money tied up in baseball prospects forever. And I know guys who do it, and but it's not something I want to do. It's just not my game anymore. I used to do it on pirate cards, pirate rookies. I just don't do that anymore. So yeah, so going back to the idea, 1,000 Mac Jones rookie cards. To me, the football it's too many cards, and the idea that we're going into a junk wax era, it's not the same scenario. But what's happening is these companies have two things happening to them right now. They're printing more cards than they ever have. And they're using parallels as a way to, being able to print more cards by creating more parallels. And so the parallel, the Prism, cards have become just another hit. I was looking at, Bowman, even in Bowman Chrome, there's multiple cards numbered the same number in terms of the refractor, autos. And it's literally just a different type of color. It's like it's a red shimmer versus a red. I mean, at some point there's going to be, 10 different parallels all numbered to 5 of a prospect auto. Who the hell knows which one collectors are going to like more? But it's just like it's too much. It's getting to be hard to figure out what to buy, what to invest in. It's just too much. And to me, it's like I'm just overwhelmed with choices on modern football. Again, I like the Steelers. I want to get a Kenny Pickett auto. I mean, do I just hold out for a Contenders and call it a day, not open any product, and just take all my money, buy one Contenders auto, and say I've got my Kenny Pickett card and I'm moving on? Maybe that's the smart thing to do. Don't buy into these parallel cards. Don't buy into this, these overpriced wax. And that's the other thing is wax is just too expensive. I mean, I'm going to be the old man here and be like, get off my lawn, but wax is incredibly expensive to the value you get and the fun. You can't open a product that costs so much money and get so little value out of it and have any fun. It's just not, something I want to do. It's literally like beating your head against the wall and expecting a different outcome other than your head, turning into a bloody mess. It's just, yeah, Dwayne, I they're not keeping any consistency. And that's a great point. One of the things I want to talk about is, I mentioned going back to Contenders because I know what Contenders does. I know what it's supposed to look like. I know that it goes all the way back to Peyton Manning, right? So I could have a 10 Contenders auto of every great player since Peyton Manning, right? But then you got fuchsia and yeah, all these different crazy inserts. They don't keep the numbering the same every year. So you may collect, I'm going to only collect black refractors, right? 1 year they're 99, 1 year they're 299, 1 year they're like, why? Why can't we keep the numbering the same? Why can't we just make it consistent? You go back to 2001 Bowman Chrome, you had one refractor auto set, one version of the auto. That was it. That's the first year of Bowman Chrome. There's only one Pujols refractor auto. There's no other version of that card. It's just one, number to 500. That's it. And, you know, that makes the choice very simple. And so when you get 1,000 choices, you know, again, Mac Jones has 1,000 101 autos or 101 cards. That's just too much. That's too much choice. You add that the other 3 or 4,000 base cards he's got. It's like you can't even fathom where to start if you're a collector. I mean, it's just, are you just, you know, buying whatever shows up on eBay? I mean, it's like you can't have any strategy when it's that much. It's just, you know, and I think that's driving me out of the football market. I just don't want to be there. I know people, and I understand why football is such an easy thing to invest in. For some people, because you got weekly games, you get one game a week. And if they have a huge game, their cards can go up. But I mean, think about how the economy is today. You can't get anything quickly graded unless it's SGC. So PSA shut down the quick grading route. If it's an expensive card, it's going to sit in eBay authentication hell for 2 weeks. So if you bought it trying to flip it, it's going to sit there for 2 games, and the card could go down by then. Or if you bought it or trying to get it in time to flip at a card show. I mean, I'm in the Northeast. You know, I may want to buy a player for the Giants, the Jets, or Patriots, and flip it at a local card show. But I have to time it now. Like I have to add 2 or 3 weeks into that time period. If they have a great game the week before the card show, and the card is like, you know, very expensive, it's going to sit in eBay authentication well past that card show. It's just, it's right now the whole economy is just all screwed up. And so, you know, I'm thinking about just really focusing on my vintage collection, my, you know, improving some of my other collections, like my Native American collection, like Chief Bender, my, you know, 33 Gaudy gum card collection, you know, just things that, you know, I've got 2/3 of a 63 top set that I haven't added a card to in like 6 years. You know, maybe I should finish that set, you know, where 2/3 of it's graded, you know, things like that, you know, like, you know, and again, that's, I get distracted easily. And I think that as a collector, that's happens, you know, Marvel cards kind of distracted me. Um, you know, so, my, you know, my King Griffey Jr., I've only got really hard into King Griffey Jr. the last 3 years. You know, I've always been a fringe Griffey guy, but now I'm really going after the things I love on Griffey. And, you know, now I realize like I need to get capital, you know, to get the good cards. I need to get capital. I need to sell some stuff to get there. And that's not a, and this idea of selling stuff to buy other stuff, that's what collectors do. You know, I'm not, when I go to set up as a dealer, I'm moving inventory so I can buy other stuff. I'm not doing this as a sustainable business. I'm not doing it to make money, to do something else. Like that's not collector related. So I love setting up at shows because I can move inventory and reinvest it in my collection. So yeah, I mean, it's really something that we should all embrace as hobbyists. Is, you know, if someone's selling their collection off, you know, and they're going to reinvest it into something else, that's great. You know, this, again, back to this idea of a flipper, you know, or someone who's trying to, you know, create, you know, this, trying to influence people to buy things, or trying to, you know, create a market for cards, you know, like, you know, the great curator has been accused of things like that. The thing is like, I don't even know how to do that. And I don't think, I would even care to do that, because in general, I only try to buy things I really want. And if I get tired of them, or if I want to move on to something else, I just get rid of it. You know, um, yeah. And again, selling. I think selling. Yeah, Jacob. Selling is, from a collector standpoint, one of those things that is traumatic. Um, and I'll give you an example from my life. Um, I've been collecting since 1986, and I started collecting PSA cards right when I graduated college, around 1997, 1998, that time period. And so I've been buying vintage cards and PSA holders. Again, you can hate PSA or not, but that's what I did. And at some point, I had a lot of the Hall of Fame rookie card, and I had the Clemente, the Aaron, the Banks, all in PSA 7. And they were all, in my opinion, well centered, nice cards. And when I moved to New York, I sold all three of them, trying to build money, for a down payment on a house, to pay for the move, to do all the things you got to do to be an adult in this life. And so I sold those cards. And then in 20, if you don't remember the great 2016, 2017, when those cards quadrupled in price the first time, I felt like such a loser, because I sold my PSA 7 Hank Aaron for $4,500, and now this thing's worth $20,000, right? And so, Jacob, that's what I'm getting from you is like, I sell that card because I need to either invest in something or do something else, and I'll never be able to afford it again. And I think about that all the time. I bought in around 2018. I bought a PSA 4 Babe Ruth card for $6,500 at the National. And last year, that card was selling over 30, I think $35,000 to $40,000. And so, like, the brain part of me that says like you should sell because you're never going to have a chance to sell that card for 5 times what you paid for it again, because now it's gone back down to the $20,000 range. But then part of me said, like, even if it goes down to $20,000, I can't ever probably afford to buy it again. I probably won't ever get another chance to buy that card at $6,000. So that those two sides of my brain are always competing with each other. Like, sell now, it's at the highest it's ever going to be. I can't sell it now because I'll never be able to get it back. I can't ever afford it. I got it at such a good deal back 4 or 5 years ago, right? And yeah, I'm still traumatized by selling those Hall of Fame rookie cards. I don't have a 54 Hank Aaron or a 54 Banks. I don't. I've replaced my Clemente. Um, you know, I had to pay $18,000 to replace my Clemente that I sold for around $3,500. So, just to being honest with you guys, I sold one for $3,500 and I paid $18,000 to buy it back. To buy a similar grade bag. So that did not work out well for me in terms of money. But I'm a big Clemente fan, and I have the complete Clemente base card set, and so I had that was a card I had to have. But yeah, I mean that's a nightmare for a collector, right? I mean, I think that's the scenario that you're all trying to avoid, is I sell something and never can buy it back again because it's a core part of my collection. Yeah, Dwayne, like, so again, I don't want to be this idea of, like, on the topic of lower grade vintage. I did a video about, where I called myself a grade snob, and believe me, starting in that 97, 98 time period, I was focused, hyper focused on PSA 8s. And it's just because when I went to shows, talked to dealers, got into the market, they were just telling me, like, look, dude, don't buy anything lower than a 7. If you can get an 8, get an 8, because that's what dealers are looking for. That's what the collectors really want. They want 8s and above. Maybe a 7 on some of these harder to get cards, but don't waste your time on anything below a 7 or an 8. And so I that's how I collected for years. And now I understand, like, 6s and 5s in some years are perfectly acceptable. 33 Gaudi, my Russo 4, and I understand that, to me, is the best grade I can probably ever afford. And so I bought the best looking one I could get. That's great. Now, in terms of holding value, so I will say, if you're buying from the 70s, you better buy an 8 or above. Unless it's some kind of crazy card like a 71 giant, like a 71 Thurman Munson, something that the 8 is disproportionately more expensive than the 7, to the point like the 7 is like $300 and the 8's like $10,000. In that case, buy the 7, because you probably can't afford the 8. The 70s, to me, is an 8 and above decade. If you really want the value to be stable, low grade 70s cards, to me, are a dime a dozen. And the reason I say this is because I've been to a lot of these bulk collector warehouses. I've been to the houses. I've seen the stacks and stacks and stacks of 70s cards. You see some stacks of 60s. You won't see hardly anyone with stacks of 50s cards. Maybe a few guys out there, but not many. Like, I can walk into a lot of vintage guys, houses, or go to their, look at their collection, and they'll have stacks of 70s because they're so much easier to find. And so 70s cards outside of some sets are super hard, are super easy to find. That's why they're not, investable, if that's the word you want to use, in that lower grade. So the demand of those cards will always be low because there's so many of them out there. Now, 60s, to me, you can make a case that 6s and 7s are viable in the 60s. I will say that the era after 66, the tide turns pretty quickly. So I don't think you can just pigeonhole all of the 60s and just say, 6s and 7s are okay in the 60s, because once you get to 67, 68, and especially 68 and 69, there's a ton of 68 and 69 cards out there. A ton. Like, stacks and stacks and stacks of those cards are on dealers' table, dealers, warehouses, and just, they're out there. And there's so many of them that I just did a video on the 50s and 60s. And if you look at, like, the amount of Nolan Ryan PSA 7 and 8s compared to the amount of Tom Seaver, it's just crazy, the difference, how much more there is of the Nolan Ryan than there is Tom Seaver. I'm not talking about who's the better player. I'm just saying the total number of 8s and 7s is much higher for the Ryan, because 68s are so easy to find. So you just can't make the assumption that because it's a 60s card, it's going to be scarcer. I think 66 is the cutoff. And again, 65 is out there a ton. 61's out there a ton. The 60s are up and down. 62 is tough. 63 is tough. 60 is tough. 66 is tough. Most other years, 67 high numbers tough. But again, a lot of cards have some supply out there that makes the low grade stuff going to sit. Again, you see 6s going up in some of these cards. Now, in terms of 50s cards, now I just did the video on the 50s. It shocked me still. When I see the numbers, it shocks me the low pop counts of those cards. 50s Hall of Famers, no matter who it is, they are, if I was smart, which I'm not, I would not buy a single Marvel card ever again. I would not buy any Griffey cards. I would not buy anything, and I'd invest everything into 50s Hall of Famers and rookie cards because, by the definition of how the hobby works, they're rare. And across the board, doesn't matter who the player is, they're rare. They don't have a high pop count, and I don't think they're ever going to. I think you look at the conversion rate to 6, 7, and 8 when a card is submitted, it's very low. It's like in a lot of cases single digit. Like 8% of the cards are 7s and 8s. Less than 10% are 6, 7, and 8s. It's, if 500 get more graded, you're going to have like another 30 cards, that grade 6, 7, or 8. That's just not enough to swing pricing in demand to the point where those cards are going to go down. So, that's the thing is like, to me, the 50s cards are the Cadillac, the thing that, if you had smart money, you would be investing in 50s Hall of Famers. It's just, they're rare. But I'm not smart and I don't have endless funds. So I buy the best I can afford. And again, the best advice a lot of people tell you is buy the highest grade of what you can afford. And that will generally keep you above water, for that, person or that card. So if all you can afford is a 5 of those Hall of Famers and they're really nice, that's, if you're buying 50s Hall of Famers and PSA 5, you're probably fine. 2021 versus 2022 flat for 50s Hall of Famers and 5. 6s grew. 7s and 8s flat to a little bit of a dip. So again, 50s Hall of Famers, they're rare. So it's much easier to buy 3s, 4s, and 5s in those cards, and have them be stable. So, yeah, the other thing I was wanting to talk about a little bit is, this idea of nostalgia in sports cards right now. This is really driven by, the kind of like the mining of the 90s now to fuel card designs for the future, right? And the set that I'm really going to pick on is this set right here. This Fleer Skybox Metal Universe set. I've been working on a video about it. I've recorded 2 of them. I didn't like either one of them. I've come up with a different angle, but in general, what I want to say is this is the laziest, worst design product I've seen in a long time. And it is totally bastardizing the love of the vintage product to do a quick cash grab by Upper Deck. If they're going to use nostalgia to drive, people to go buy cards, to buy these sets, they should at least take some time to make the cards look nice. Take some time to do Photoshop, to do photography that looks somewhat decent. But they rushed this product out. And I don't know if you've seen it. If you Google eBay, you'll see how they took designs like Blast Furnace, Arc Weld, Freshman Foundation, Intimidation Nation, a cut above, and made them the stupidest, ugliest looking inserts that's ever been made. So they took a design like a cut above, which is one of the all-time coolest looking die cuts, and ruined it and just made a terrible looking card because they didn't care or they couldn't afford to do it the right way. So they made a butt ugly version of that card. And they did it for multiple sets. And I don't care that there's PMGs. Let's not give Upper Deck a lot of credit for PMGs. Okay. They didn't create PMG, Skybox did. Okay. Totally different company. Upper Deck gets 0 credit for PMGs. They did not create those designs. All Upper Deck has done is either copy the design or make it worse. They've never improved it. Okay. So let's not give Upper Deck any credit for making the design any better than it originally was. They either made it worse or they just did the same way. Okay. But going back to the PMG is, how hard is it to make a monocolor foil card? Right? We're not talking about a lot of special technology to monocolor foil card for the most part. So from a design perspective, how hard is that to screw up? But they've done it. Look at last year's X-Men metal cards. Those PMGs, especially the reds, look like ass. Okay, they do not look good. But I give them credit in this product. They look fine in terms of just maybe design, but they use some of the ugliest photos of these athletes I've ever seen. Now, the only thing they did in this set that's worth to me talking about is the platinum portraits look good. That's the one design I will give them some credit for. But every other design that's in this set, besides the PMGs and the platinum portraits, is some of the worst designs I've ever seen. In fact, on the blast furnace, you can see where they Googled an emoji and just used a fire emoji in the background that they Googled and found on Photoshop somewhere. Like, it's just that lazy. They didn't do any sort of real design. They just copied and pasted something that was already out there. So, but what I'm getting back to is, overall, products like this, some of the worst design looking products ever made, are coming at you right now at crazy prices. This was supposed to be $1,200 a box for a hobby box. Then they got it because it has Michael Jordan in it, right? But now it's at $6.99 on Dave and Adam. That's the last time it looked $6.99, because the hobby looked at it and said, those are some of the ugliest, stupidest cards I've ever seen, and I'm not paying $1,200 for that box. So that is the hobby sort of taking some power back. We got to do more often. We've got to punish these companies when they do something stupid and make ugly cards. Topps has screwed up autographs lately. They've screwed up the inserts, the rookie inserts into Chrome. Upper Deck released this atrocity of a set. Panini's not making anything. They're just doing whatever, like just not doing anything. So that's the hobby. I mean, right now the hobby isn't as great as it was a year ago, in my opinion. We're making some cool cards, but everything is overprinted. Too many parallels, too much of everything, and nothing is unique. Again, like what Sinestro says in the Invincibles, if everyone's special, then no one's special. Well, if every card's a parallel, then no card's a parallel. Like, no one cares anymore, and that's sort of what's happening. So, again, I'm going to end the stream. It's getting on an hour. Again, I want to say, for anyone who didn't catch the early part of the stream, I am doing a contest. It's a giveaway. The 2 cards I'm giving away. Okay, you can have your choice. It's a Topps Chrome PSA 9 Aaron Judge rookie card. There you go. It's a PSA 9. Or I'm giving away 83 Topps Wax Pack Michigan Test PSA 9. The contest goes like this. You have to look at my logo. It's at the end of every one of my videos. And guess which death metal band the logo, the script that I'm using is based off. So it's a death metal band. It's one of my favorite bands of all time. I am a musician. I've played in bands. And so, what band is that logo based off of? You get one guess, and you have to be subscribed to the channel to win. So subscribe to the channel, make your guess on the comment section in this video, and I'll pitch you in the contest. And if you guess it right, first person wins their choice, and I'll do a second contest for the other card or whatever's left. Again, one guess per video. So next time around, I'm trying to do these every week. If no one guesses it, I'll give another clue, and But again, you only get one, so you can't just guess every 80s, 90s, 2000 death metal band that's out there, and try to hit it. So that's it. I appreciate you guys. I know I don't do this a lot, and anyone comments, Dwayne, Jacob, everyone who commented in the section, I appreciate it. And I'll see you next time on Cards and Comics, and hopefully you guys have a great weekend.